to enter aux in playing.
How many of you Asiatics in here know that you're white people? You know how the old gospel songs, when they talk about white as snow, I want to be whiter than snow? It's a status. It's not complexion. It is not complexion. There is no white nation in Europe. Don't exist. They might have peanut butter sandwiches, but they ain't a white nation. You understand?
On the real, all these dirty Moors know the deal. When we start the revolution, all they probably do is squeal. On the real, all these dirty Moors know the deal. When we start the revolution, all they probably do is squeal. On the real, all these dirty Moors know the deal. When the truth gets revealed, all they probably do is squeal. On the real, all these dirty Moors know the deal. On the real, on the real. When I uplift the fallen humans from the ashes, the phoenix will rise and live on after it clashes. Fezzes and head wraps, costume ball sashes. Atlantis and Pangea was us ruling the atlas. The mundane, some god, a numb brain. True God is reincarnate, some self-proclaimed. Taking the lessons from Quran questions. Bible as my rolling pad, holy book, circle 7. Forerunner Marcus Garvey coming in the whirlwind. Moorish Boba Muftis in the black turban. Pioneer exposed as the triple crown glows. Every negus has the negus as his throne. The temple as the body. Truth as my shoddy. With no bulge, I'm still armed without the robbery. Master arts martial, and they marshal the law. Peace office abuse authority, fracture your jaw. Clapping at y'all at bachelor parties. Not knowing whether it's controlled by HAARP. Stopping the tapping of UH frequency. Sent to the higher self from Sirius B, or maybe Sirius A. The reverse is serious internet radio play. Like square shreddies are now diamond and new. Misleading, they charge a bill 50 for a shoe. It takes $5 to make. They load trucks with bins. Same goes for cars, construction Tims. So clean, no scuffs. Revolution chumps, reclining in the armchair, speechless like mumps. On the real, all these dirty Moors know the deal. On the real, all these dirty Moors know the deal. On the real. All these dirty Moors know the deal. When we start the revolution, all they probably do is squeal. Change is coming. I'm watching hybrids running for shade, cause Earth's hot, not like a preheat oven. Raid the stores for UV protection. If AIDS can go through the condoms, who you protecting? Neglecting the truth and lie accepting. Not in propria person, reparations expecting. Planes going down, but you're not ejecting. Too busy flossing with the spinning rims and white feeters flexing. Fronts are fake elements, that's not real gold. Running from police with guns is not too bold, cause you got a gun but won't shoot back, son, or shoot first and earn your way off earth. Suicide is a sin and sin is ignorance. Not thinking critical makes you ignorant. Missing the message. Ego filling your brain with nonsensical thoughts just to drive you insane. On the real, all these dirty Moors know the deal. On the real, all these dirty Moors know the deal. On the real, all these dirty Moors know the deal. When we start the revolution, all they probably do is squeal. Our leaders labeled black, they were assigned to us. As ancients, we flew, we didn't have to ride the bus or drink at their fountain. We didn't even need our own. The gun is a penis and every man is holding a chrome. Thinking it's tough, but when you shoot, you bust. Like vixens holding you in with the camel hoof clutch. Smoking a Dutch, but taught much against the master. Sellouts would pay karmic debt in the life after. Don't believe me, seek the truth. I hear Hail Hitler when I play back these hip-hop loops that rap hip-hop. Nas said it's dead. Same gun he raps about, shot Jay in the head, cripple a team. These ball players, they cripple a dream. Counting the asses that they slap but won't get a bad rap. And rap sheets are written by them. It's police, not following Moors, but niggas booming in their Jeeps. Europeans on the bus, they acting like niggas. Straight off the plantation, looking like J Hill figure. From the foreigner, you'll never get compensated. This armor you man saying you strapped, you been miseducated. On the real, all these dirty Moors know the deal. When we revolution, all they probably do is squeal on the real. All these dirty Moors know the deal. When we start the revolution, all they probably do is squeal on the real. All these dirty Moors know the deal. When the truth gets revealed, all they probably do is squeal on the real. All these dirty Moors know the deal on the real. On the real.
Let me suggest to you this, and everyone, please keep this in mind. This is your civic responsibility. Because one of the things that we're doing is teaching our people to be better citizens. Being part and parcel of this said government, we are to live the life accordingly. We are enforcing the law. We are not violating law. You must understand that. And so we are teaching you the jurisprudence that governs those civic affairs. Some of it you're familiar with, some of it you're not. The damage has been that you have been assuming that people who have been governing are legitimate. And so you've looked at yourself from a subordinate position. No, we are the government. They are servants. They've been racketeering for quite some time, and we have every intention to bring it to a screeching halt. But we can't unless we or you, the people, decide that you want to stop being niggers.
Artist, yo, my principles, that's how I was dead, right? MK Ultra, King Alfred, or X84. Once all melanites behind cage doors. In front of the idiot box, drinking cause, watching sports. At the picnic, first in line for porks. Can't find your mind, some say that it's lost. Moral science says divine souls got tossed, abandoned. Love is my ammo, peace is the cannon. Truth is the Ayahuasca talking through the shaman. Freedom is the freedom, justice I must get. Tears fall like those shot with the pilgrim's muskets. The ruckus I bring, but this ain't Wu-Tang. Hold you accountable, Shimitar takes it 2 hands. Sent up the frankincense from Sudan. Big up to my elder and the god Moses holding up Muban. Rainbow flag rapping Fruity Loop toucans. Same company got cola in 2 cans. Different labels, you're navigating, L is your navel. Matriarch rules, watch the goddess not cable. My property, now the rights of the archives paper. Ex-knights now sheiks of the round table. Ancients return to reclaim and learn how to not to succumb to the combustion burn. Astral projecting, as above so below. So you know off the cosmos we're reflecting. Yo bro, laws of nature, make the sun hate you. Hybrid cockazoid, I'm all pro but not rapanoid. My deep mob, make devil's horns kebab. Don't get my Islam twisted with jihad. Don't get the Muslim mixed up with Muslims. Don't mistake the Mufti force for hoodlums. We giving back Islam and his story. Taking my story, creating a mystery. That's what's hidden. It's now called Satanism. Men thinking they're wise, but they lack wisdom. Need I say more? In my proper person, I got judges tearing up the bonds and cursing. I self-law a master. No guns, let God be whirlwind blast ya. No need for tabs, we got the feds. Rituals make them roll down the steps like the Aztec heads. I self-law a master. No guns, let God be whirlwind blast ya. No need for tabs, we got the feds. Rituals make them roll down steps like Aztec heads. Most say they're ready for consciousness, I doubt it. Application is the path, but some reroute it. The most I can say is, we'll see about it. Mother Nature sets fires and they can't out it. They take oaths, I know the truth, but they can't shout it. I plant the seed in your mind, got the highest sprouting. Just like Jack's beans, roll a sock, a sensei scene. Empty ashtray, hanging from the loose kente. Bobo beating on the djembe, calling Orishas. Or hailing Goddess Manen or the Negus Negus. Red, black, green candles, golden flame. Make you think so much and end up with a swollen brain. Cause even she can see that he's in create her. The point creatress is the only creator. I self-law a master. My son now run, my birthright's a sovereign. Got the macabre around me revolving. X-Alpha or David Starr, I'm shooting at your squadron. Illuminate my higher self, see from afar. I'm so against jail, I can't rhyme in bars. I self-law a master. No guns, let Garvey whirlwind blast ya. No need for tabs, we got the feds. Rituals make them roll down the steps like the Aztec heads. I self-law a master. No guns, let Garvey whirlwind blast ya. No need for tabs. got the feds. Aztec heads.
Islam Moors, peace and love to all the Moors worldwide. Honors to all the Moors for being here on this most divine day, January 8th, the solar return of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We give him supreme honors for the work that he's done in order to wake us up to the truth about our nationality and our birthrights. We give honors to all Moors worldwide, honors to all mothers for giving us life so we could be here to be able to partake in one of the greatest weeks of the year, Moorish American Week, January 8th to the 15th. If you're unfamiliar, you can just go search Moorish American proclamations. Just Google Moorish American proclamations and see what comes up. Google search Moorish American Week. See what pops up. So we're going to be giving him his honors today. You know what I mean? So we have a back-to-back today. We're not even go back-to-back today. Just because we're here. Actually, let me plug in this thing so we can go longer. Because you already know they got Canaanland Moors under manners. We don't got Brother Kush Day and those Moors status yet, where we have more than an hour on our stream. They be cutting us off quick fast. But it's all good. We make do with what we got. Peace and love to all the Moors once again. Oh yes, and like the Moor said, Merry Christmas to all the Moors. If you're confused, just know Merry Christmas to you as well. If you don't get what's going on, you will. Don't worry. Because Noble Drew Ali is the gift. Noble Drew Ali's lessons is the gift. Your nationality and birthrights is the gift. You know, hopefully you got a temple where you're at. If not, you know, you're probably with Canaanland Moors temple. And you already know we stay giving out here. So we want to go through some of the literature just to put it out there, you know, and then go into some other things. But we want to put a few of these out just so people could have a perspective of what it is that he did. Because a lot of people are confused and think that he did some religious thing for our people, and this was way beyond some religion. So we notice in this article, Prophet Drew Ali speaks to the nations. Speaks to the nations. Not speaking to some individuals, speaks to the nations, plural. If you have race pride and love your race, join the Moorish Science Temple of America and become a part of this divine movement. Then you will have power to redeem your race, because you will know who you are and your forefathers were. Because where there is unity, there is strength. Together we stand, divided we fall. So this was a direct message to all the race pride people, all our people who were claiming that they love their race and they got pride in their ancestors and all that, right? This is for all of them. All the race pride people were supposed to join the Moorish Science Temple of America so we can have the power to redeem our race. Have what power to redeem our race? Have the power of unity, because we would be standing together under one flag, not the 50 flags that we like to stand under, claiming that that's for our salvation. We would all be under one flag, the red flag with the green 5-point star in the center, which is the flag of our ancient forefathers, the flag of the Moors. Been around 10 to 50,000 years. Obviously, 10 to 50,000 years is before some kingdom of Morocco in Africa. Before that, thousands of years before that, which is why he resurrected that flag and not any other flag that we think is our flag. Come, good people, because I, the prophet, sent to redeem this nation from mental slavery, which you have now, need every one of you who think that your condition can be better. This is a field open to strong men and women to uplift the nation and take your place in the affairs of men. Come, good people. So we don't want bad people. We only want the good ones. We don't want the Negroes, the blacks, the coloreds, and all that stuff. We want the people who know that they're in mental slavery. But even though they're in mental slavery, they know that their condition can be better. They know that their condition can be better. They're not assuming that it can be better. They know our condition is messed up as a people. It must be able to be better. And then they see that brother with the fez on. They see that mother with a turban on. And they're giving them something, telling them, you got race pride and love your race? Join the Moorish Science Temple. Come down to the temple, 7 p.m. We got meetings and all that stuff, and we let you know what's going on. Only the ones who are ready to take responsibility are going to gravitate to what Noble Drew Ali presented. Many people aren't ready for responsibility. Majority of our people aren't ready for responsibility. Because when it's time for responsibility, that means you have to start handling your affairs. But like he said, this is a field open to strong men and women. Strong men and women. Not weaklings. Strong men and women. And not strong because you could do 50 pull-ups in a minute. We're not talking about that strong. We're talking about the people who have the mental capacity to really digest where it is that we have to go. Because not everybody is strong mentally. Majority of our people are mental weaklings, and they're really not ready for this. And we're not even talking about going to court and stand in front of a judge yet. We're not even talking about that. We're just talking about stop saying that you're Negro, black, colored, and say that you're Moors. We're just saying that part. They can't even do that. So they're definitely not going to be ready for anything else relative to this. If they can't get over that hurdle called you're not Negro, black, colored, and accept that. If the European and other nations are helping me, why not you? It is your problem. The Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish National Divine Movement. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. This is what is meant when it said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto you." If the Europeans and other nations are helping, then why not you? So what was he saying? Back then, in the 1920s, Europeans and other nations were assisting him in this "together we stand, divided we fall, take your place amongst the affairs of men" initiative. Europeans were assisting him because the problem, the Negro problem, is really our problem. There's not going to be some body other than yourself who's going to solve the Negro problem, which again goes back to being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish National Divine Movement. What's the Moorish National and Divine Movement doing to solve this Negro problem? Getting the people out of their mental slavery that they're Negroes, and getting them to embrace their nationality, that they are Moors. If they can't do that, Negro problem continues, which is why Negro problem has continued. Because Noble Drew Ali laid this out, gave all these lessons to everybody who was around him at the time, and very few held up to the charge. Many sold him out. Many left him out to dry because they had ulterior motives. They weren't about the people. They were about popularity. They were about making a name for themselves so they can look good to the same European who was helping Noble Drew Ali to fix the Negro problem. How were they helping? What were they doing to help Noble Drew Ali fix this problem? They let him do what the hell ever he want. That's how they were helping him. They weren't stopping him from doing whatever he wanted to do. Just go look up the Chicago Defender newspaper, more articles on the Moors, and see how much stuff was being covered. Just go look up Chicago Defender newspaper, Moors. See how much they were covering the Moors and the activity of the Moors. Right? When Noble Drew Ali was on the scene in the 1920s, going into late 1920s when they assassinated him, how do you think these people were looking at this individual back then? You think they didn't realize who he was? You think it was an illusion to them of who he was? They knew exactly who he was, because their foremothers and forefathers were brought up on the same teachings as this that they strayed away from, which is why he can talk to the nations. Now let's back this up. All right, once again, the great cosmic mother, rediscovering the religion of earth, Monica Drew and Barbara Moore. The American split. The founding fathers, as they are called, Thomas Paine, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, John Adams, James Madison, Benjamin Franklin, et al., the men who wrote the documents and espoused the ideas leading to the break with Britain and the American Revolution, the men who wrote the Constitution and Bill of Rights in general, established the legal, political, ideological matrix that became American government, the American ideals of freedom and independence of thought and behavior. The founding fathers were not Christian, they were deist. Deism was an 18th century rationalist philosophy emerging from the European Enlightenment. Who enlightened these Europeans? Who are the people that enlightened these Europeans? Moors did. Moors foundational information is what these Europeans used to set up their constitution, to set up their, where they call founding fathers and American government and all that stuff. They followed Moors. They took the teachings of the Moors and they applied it to themselves. And look where they are today, 200 years later. Look where they are. Even though people are running in their Congress and all that stuff doing madness, look where they are. Even though they had puppets and entertainers and all types of people become presidents of this stuff that they created. The point of the matter is their rationalist philosophy emerged from European Enlightenment. And when you look up deism, deism is metaphysical. Where metaphysics come from? The Moors. No, it didn't. It comes from the ancient Egyptians. They're North Africans. They're Moors. Stop the dumb stuff. Noble Ali checkmated everybody. Nobody had a say. Why? Because he brought back that four-letter word that everybody was giving supreme honors to before this Inquisition and all that. Before this whole concept of what we see today as government, as religion, as spirituality, as whatever, before all the stuff that we see today, everybody was following what the Moors were doing. Everyone. How? Why? Because the Moors were ruling the planet. The Moors weren't just some little pocket in North Africa. The Moors were ruling the planet. East, west, north, south. The Moors were ruling. Everywhere you went, there were Moors there. This is the part of the history that the nigger leaders were supposed to tell you about in order for you to take Noble Drew Ali more serious. But they didn't tell you that. They told you about white men and Christians and KKK and all this stuff that has nothing to do with anything. Have you thinking that these people are founded on some, they don't like black people and all that? No, it's not. They're founded on the foundation of our ancient foremothers and forefathers. They gravitated to it. Gravitated to it to the point where presidents of this thing took oaths on Qurans, not Bibles. Why would they be taking oaths on a Quran if they're Christian? Obviously they're not Christian. And if they're obviously not Christian, it makes sense, again, going back to Noble Drew Ali and the great work that he did, to let this stuff be known. We as a clean and pure nation, descended from the inhabitants of Africa, do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Not the white man of Europe, the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation. So if Christianity was founded by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, and they're coming out and talking about, no, we're not Christian, we're deists. What are they telling you? What are they trying to say? What point are they trying to make? If the people who Christianity was brought for them, and they're saying, no, we don't want Christianity, we want deists. We want deism. If the people who are running the place right now are really not running it under Christianity, then doesn't that tell you that anybody who looks like us talking about Christianity, they're under mental slavery? Because if the Europeans don't want Christianity, they're going to take deism and then rule the world under the foundation of deism, which comes from the European Renaissance, which was given to them by our foremothers and forefathers, the Moors. Then our people are really tripping. Our people are really tripping. How hard is it for them to see this? They must be really under some mental slavery if they can't see this. And again, this is obviously common knowledge. This is not some secret stuff we're pulling out the vault to say that, yeah, look, this information we found about the Europeans. No, everybody knows that they're deists. Deists understood God to be the principle of organization and intelligence in the universe. This ordering principle could be discerned by rational thought and investigation, but it was not a personal deity who could be petitioned by humans. Deists considered themselves to be decent and spiritually devoted men. But when they said God, they referred to cosmic law, not the God of the Judeo-Christian Bible. When they said God, one nation, under God, and all that stuff, they weren't talking about some Christian European man walking on water. They weren't talking about that. They were talking about cosmic law. That alone is supposed to destroy all these people's belief in some outside of their self entity that's giving them whatever. Some deists, including the American deists, spent a good amount of rituals of the organized Christian churches, both Catholic and Protestant. The major premises of Christian religions are: 1, the idea of original sin, and 2, the belief in salvation through faith. Deists totally oppose these two basic Christian principles. Instead, they espoused the 18th century philosophy that defined human beings as 1, essentially good, and 2, capable of progress through knowledge, reason, justice, and liberty. Deists denied the dogmas of the virgin birth, the divinity of Christ, the concept of heaven and hell, and all ideas of damnation and redemption. Deism was in fact the origin of what is now called secular humanism. Let's go again. Instead, they espoused the 18th century philosophy that defined human beings as essentially good and capable of progress through knowledge, reason, justice, and liberty. Deists denied the dogmas of the virgin birth, the divinity of Christ, the concept of heaven and hell, and all ideas of damnation and redemption. All. Deism was in fact the origin of what is now called secular humanism, and it was the practicing philosophy of the men who conducted and won the American Revolution and became the founding fathers of the American government. The European Enlightenment, of which deism and the American Revolution were important elements, was a reaction against the historic collusion of court and church, which had made a bloody debacle of European history. American deists lived on the still raw edge of 5 centuries of Christian inquisition and perpetual sectarian warfare in Europe. That's all about the Moors and the Christian nations battling for world domination. And these Europeans, quote unquote, the founding fathers, didn't take the side of the Inquisition. They didn't take the side of the Inquisition, but they're Europeans. Why would they take the side of the Moors if they're Europeans? Because they realized that the whole Christian stuff was BS. And man was really supposed to return to Islam. Because that's all that was around in those times. Either you're Christian or you're Muslim. And if you're Muslim, then you got access to the grandeur life, living in castles and seeing people walking around with turbans, fezzes, wearing silks, paved streets, street lights, water coming out the tap. Opposed to the Christian thing, which is living in a barn with the animals. And cuddling with sheep and cows and stuff like that. And then those were the kings and queens of Europe. Sleeping in a barn guy was the king of Europe. Who wants that? Nobody in their right mind is going to say, let me see. Air conditioning, place smelling like roses and all that. Or barn, not showering, eating the animal feed. Ain't nobody taking the animal feed stuff. Even these Europeans, who were some of the most savage on the planet, knew that it's about getting down with who was ruling. And who was ruling at the time was our foremothers and forefathers, who Noble Drew Ali brought back to the forefront by claiming us as Moors, not Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian. Even though you're going to have Moors tell you that there's people out there called Ethiopian or whatever like that. When you go talk to them, they're going to tell you they're Abyssinian. They're not no Ethiopians. The historic ravages of persecution and scapegoating, the arrest, tortures, burnings, and daily terror, the confiscation of the property as well as the life of anyone accused of heresy or witchcraft. These nightmare events were still quite alive in the minds of men like Paine, Jefferson, and Adams. The Inquisition, once again talking about the Moors, the Inquisition and witch hunts were the recent history of their people. This is why they wrote the Constitution and Bill of Rights in precisely the way they did. The First Amendment was not a philosophical abstraction. It was an attempt by non-Christian men to secure a respect for religious freedom of belief or non-belief, along with a strong legal control over any church's ability to condition the minds of American citizens with the alliance of the government. The two prime virtues for deists were liberty and knowledge. That's why certain people said liberty or death. Liberty or death. Why are they saying liberty or death? Because they already knew what was up. Or somebody said they want that again. Let's go again, because this was good. The historic ravages of persecution and scapegoating. Right? Same stuff we're dealing with today. Right? The arrest, tortures, burnings, and daily terror. The confiscation of property. as well as the life of anyone accused of heresy or witchcraft. These nightmare events were still alive in the minds of men like Paine, Jefferson, and Adams. The Inquisition and witch hunts were the recent history of their people. This is why they wrote the Constitution and Bill of Rights in precisely the way they did. The First Amendment was not a philosophical abstraction. Was not a philosophical abstraction. It was an attempt by non-Christian men. Remember, these are Europeans. Europeans non-Christian? If they're not Christian, what are they? Oh yeah, he took an oath on Qurans and stuff like that. It was an attempt by non-Christian men to structure a respect for religious freedom or belief or non-belief, along with a strong legal control over any church's ability to condition the minds of American citizens with the alliance of the government. The two prime virtues for deists were liberty and knowledge, for white males like themselves, at least. Any church-state amalgamation threatened liberty and knowledge, which they rightly saw as enclosed in a mutual feedback system. One needs the other for either to exist. Another strong, open your ears, another strong non-biblical influence on the American Constitution came, of course, from the original inhabitants of this continent. The great law of peace of the Longhouse people, known as the Iroquois Confederation or League of Six Nations, is perhaps 1,000 years old and still governs the Longhouse people of Northeast America. Its intent was to unify Indian nations or tribes who spoke different languages into one communicating body as an alliance for peace. The deistic founding fathers were aware of this great law and impressed by its sanity and practical wisdom. They incorporated much of its spirit and some of its organizational details into the U.S. Constitution. They went all the way there. So the original people of this land had government going on before these people started their government. And what they do, not only did they take from the Moors over there to start their stuff over here, they also took stuff from the Moors here that they misclassify as Indians now. And the Longhouse people, known as the Iroquois Confederation or League of Six Nations, is intended to unify Indian nations or tribes who spoke different languages into one communicating body as an alliance of peace. Why do you think Noble Drew Ali said all these different labels? Because he was speaking from the perspective of the great law. That if we're going to have an alliance, we can't be calling ourselves all these Indian nations and tribes. We have to be under one banner, which the one banner was the Moorish nation. One flag. Oh yeah, you're black, Negro, colored, African, all that stuff. Oh yeah, we got. If you have race pride and love your race, join the Moorish Science Temple. Where there's unity, there is strength. We don't want unity. Our people don't want unity. If they wanted unity, they wouldn't have jumped off the ship when stuff got crazy in the end of the 1920s between Marcus Garvey and Noble Drew Ali. They wouldn't have jumped off the ship. They wouldn't have fell for the game, take the head and then the body falls down. They would have just grew 2 more heads. They couldn't even do that because of the traitorous intent of the people who were around during that time. The idea, the mindset that this stuff was already locked down and then we still lost everything. That ain't no Europeans that did that, because like we're saying right here, these non-Christian men, they were following the Iroquois Confederation and they were following the Moors in Europe. That's the teachings that they were following. So if they were following the teachings of the Moors, what do you mean they were against what the Moors were doing and they stopped this from happening? Because no, that's the nigger mindset that your nigger leaders made you adopt and have our people thinking that we're the separated tribes. Those ones over there, they got their flag over there. Those ones over there got their flag. Those ones over there have their language that they talk. Those ones down there dress a certain way. Those ones over there are some different thing. The ones down there are trying to say that's there, but they don't really know what they're talking about. But we're just going to let them do whatever they want because it doesn't matter. Everything matters. And Noble Drew Ali brought everything together. Noble Drew Ali brought everything together to the point where everything that we see today as an organization for the liberation of our people, their founders came out of what Noble Drew Ali brought. And now they're parading around, making you get your ass beat by this colonist who studied Islam. Remember, the founding fathers studied not the Christians of Europe. They studied the people who were persecuted, who were scapegoated, the people who were arrested and tortured and burned and called witches, the people who lived in daily terror because their property was getting confiscated. They were called, heretics, pagans. Oh, you guys, we're going to... That's who these founding fathers followed. They didn't follow the people who the Negro, black, colored people are following today. Which you check all these whoever's and they're on some European stuff. Whether it's European mindset, European religion, European way that they dress, whatever. They weren't down with that. Our people adopted that fake culture that's really not a culture. Because like we said, during the time of the Moors, everybody was living under Islam. The Jews were living under Islam. The Catholic, Christian, Protestant, whatever were living under Islam. Any type of Buddhist, East, Enlightenment, whatever was living under Islam, and there was no issues. Everybody was happy. Everybody was extremely content because what did they get to do? Practice their First Amendment rights, which was the right to worship however you want to worship. You ain't even got to, you don't even have to claim you're Islamic. You could be Christian under the Moors. It wasn't an issue. You could be Catholic. They weren't mad. You could be Jew. You don't have to wear a fez. You could wear a yarmulke. It's cool. You don't have to wear a turban. You didn't have to wear a turban. You didn't have to exercise the culture like that. You can, under the rule of the Moors, the world was happy. The world were experiencing everything that the Moors had to offer. This is what Noble Drew Ali was tying us back to. Book is the Great Cosmic Mother. The world was down with the Moorish perspective. The world was down with it. The whole entire world was down with it. And what happened? Because if the founding fathers were practicing Islam, what the hell happened? Like, what happened? And that's when you get into, make sure you go get Dr. Elim El Bey's book, First World Order, where they're talking about George Washington ain't even George Washington. That's Adam Weishaupt. And these people sent people over here to infiltrate the quote-unquote American government, and now imposters have been running the show, and then you talk about vote for somebody. They're not the founding fathers. They're not following stuff the founding fathers did. All this stuff after these people went up in Congress building, Senate building, jumping over stuff, hanging off stuff and all that. Guess what? These same so-called government officials or whatever, they're doing conferences and standing in front of the mic and all that stuff, and all they're talking about is democracy. What do you mean democracy? Why are they talking about democracy? That's not what's in the Constitution. That's not what they take an oath to. Oh, but they know the people are dumb. They know the people are dumb. Dumb. And they'll tell these people anything. They'll tell these people that they're black when black really means pale, and they'll let them do Pale Lives Matter every day, all day. How come the National Guard didn't get called in? When the blacks were there, they had the National Guard there because they were protecting you niggers. That's why the National Guard was there. These Europeans don't need protection. When you go check, guaranteed, if we pulled all those Europeans that rushed the Capitol, guarantee, ain't no KKK and rednecks or whatever. All that was lawyers, all that was business people, all that was, there was no white trash there. There was no white trash there. All those people who were there, running up in their stuff, all those people who ran up in their stuff, they weren't the people who you're looking at, KKK and all that stuff. That wasn't them. KKK doesn't have ARs and all that stuff. Where they getting that from? KKK beat you in the head with a bat. Skinhead make you bite the curb. They don't play weaponized stuff and chest plates and all that stuff. They don't play that. Skinheads don't play that. Racists and stuff like that, they don't play high level artillery. You've been played. And you've been played because you've been listening to your own traitors instead of listening to the noble prophet who brought you everything it takes to save a nation and told us, take it and save ourselves. Did we take it and save ourselves? No, we didn't. We thought he was a joke and unreal. We thought he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's dressed like a Swami. We don't dress like that. We don't wear that. I don't want to be a Moor because then I'm going to have to be Islamic, and I don't believe in Allah. I believe in God of whatever. I don't want to wear a fez because a fez comes from Leopold and the Congo, and they cut our people's hands off and whatever. And all the nigger leaders telling them that. Sheikh Anta Diop, Runoko Rashidi, all these nigger leaders. The Moors destroyed Shanghai, and the Moors destroyed all the pyramids in Mali, and the Moors did this and that. No, they didn't. You're telling me 5 guys from the block went and robbed the liquor store, and that applies to everybody on the block? How? 5 guys went over there and raped that lady, And then now you're telling me everybody on that block is a rapist. Lynch everybody because everybody raped that lady. No, it didn't. Only those 5 guys did it. Only them. Nobody else was even around. But this is what the nigger leaders do. Their job is to keep you confused and keep you away from this. All of them. If they're not talking about this, they're a sellout leader. If they're not bringing this up, if they're telling you about everything under the sun, there's even a lecture where Dr. Sebi brought up Noble Drew Ali and acknowledged that he's a Moor. So how are you telling me you're on the Sebi diet and you got the Sebi food list and all that stuff, but you're not honoring Noble Drew Ali and you're not a Moor? You're not no goddamn Sebi supporter. No, you're not. I'm not believing that. You're playing games like all the other nigger leaders. Put Noble Drew Ali's picture on a poster and think that they're doing something when these people have nationality cards in the background. These people got Ali, El, Bay, they got fezzes, they got paperwork sealed by Moors and all that stuff, and then they're playing around like they don't know what's going on. And then everybody that they point at looks opposite of you, and that's your enemy. No, that's a fiction. People are lying, have been lying, and will continue to lie because they took their position. They took their check. They took their finance. And because they took their finance, now you suffer. Now your children suffer. Now your children have to suffer. Because instead of uplifting fallen humanity, like he said, they want to play games with fallen humanity. They want to play emotional games with fallen humanity. Have fallen humanity not even know that they're fallen. And then, like he said, they want to take this uncivilized position and force it on a civilized world and wonder how come the world doesn't respect black people and how come they don't respect what we're doing. We need to start our own state. Now they're talking about some African Union set up something for them so they can have a nation. Get the hell out of here. Why would some African nation people, why would the African Union, knowing that the diaspora would make up, 90% of the African Union, give you a nation for you to rule the African Union when that's their stuff? And you're supposed to have your own stuff over here because you ain't no African. You might be a descendant of African, but if Noble Drew Ali say we're descendants of Moroccans born in America and Morocco's in Africa, then why are we over here? What's he really telling you? What's he really connecting you to? If the founding fathers are going to go to the Sultan to get permission for some land because they don't like what's going on in Europe because this ain't right that we got to be in these conditions and all that stuff. And Sultan said, oh yeah, no problem. You can go over there and go set up over there. And then they came across the Atlantic because the Sultan said, come over here. What do you think is going on? Like we said, we know how they do. But there's the countdown for the end of part 1. Don't go too far because we'll be right back with part 2 of honoring Noble Drew Ali on his day. Islam Moors,